Yeah, yeah, it looks like this, guys.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay. And in that one, you'll see some numbers on there because I was doing a paper trail. I've got the general fund underlined, which is B, that goes back to the rest of these funds. That's the general fund, which includes the payment, the expense to the public safety pensions. But C and D down here, which are part of the budget, those are the payments that our pension boards pay to the retirees for their benefits and for our administrative fees. These are $27, $30 million. The city does not pay these. They come out of our budget. Well, that's why I went to 24, 25, because the guy called me, so 2024 has these, it's 30 million. And by 2025, they've disappeared from the budget. And I asked, I says, well, are they still funding the pension? I'm going, well, I think so. So I started digging into this, and that's what this packet's about. I can walk you through it. So what the city's been doing, they've been expanding their expense of the general fund, excuse me, not the general fund, the full budget. They've expanded that full budget year after year, and these aren't small amounts. For the last 5 years, so I have that on the cover sheet, it totals $136 million of expenses that are shown on this all fund summary, which is an expense thing, expenses, and it's a phantom. They're not paying these expenses. This is pretty serious. And I don't know if you guys know, but I'll rest in just a second, is that the police and fire boards, we've joined hands to perform a forensic audit of our funds and our funding sources. And this is just a prime example of why we're doing this. This is a major guffaw. And I see in the 2025 budget, they didn't put it in, and they even went back on the other funds, the other years, and scrubbed those back by like 25 million and stuff. I mean, this is, the guy that called me had a right to be concerned. I said, but I was able to, because I had to print them up and show them, well, here's where the pension funds is funded out of the general fund. He says, well, that doesn't say pension, it says non-governmental. But that's the pension fund, right? The pension funding? Well, just a simple question.
Just a point of information, if I can. I want to be recognized by the chair before I speak. I would like to talk to staff. I feel like the suspense is continuing to build.
Right.
I don't want it to continue to build the entire meeting. So if staff can help us understand what is being expressed right now and what our point of view is, I would appreciate it if we could do that.
I'll just a second. But I wanted to show this guy that it's getting. Don't worry, it's being funded. But that it's being funded. But I had to go back to 2021 or 2022, where it was listed in the general fund. And all that paperwork is in here. That's why I did 2022. It was listed in the fund as a pension payment for police and fire. Then they combined them, and they drew it down to a non-governmental payment. And so I can see why my pension member was concerned that the city wasn't funding it. But what I stumbled upon was this huge amount of expense that are tacked onto the budget every year. That expenses got to be covered by revenue. And all this drumbeat for we need more revenue was inflated. That's by, again, in 2024, it inflated the budget by $30 million.
Let's take Committee Livingston, and then we're going to have our treasurer talk.
So, and maybe Hitesh and Clayton could clarify this further. When we put together the budget materials, you mentioned that we, before we were sort of grossing up both the revenues and then the contribution to the pension fund. So there was expense between the city and the pension fund. There was revenue from the various sources that we used to make the pension contribution, and then separately revenue was showed shown on the side of the pension fund. So in effect, it kind of looked like 60 and 60 rather than 30 and 30. And we had a very open discussion about how those were being shown. Really, the underlying substance is 30 and 30. 30 of revenue, 20, we're using some excess reserves, and then 30 of expense. So we're not showing expense in both places as it was shown before. We're just showing a $30 million expense going from the general fund into the pension fund. And so it was talked about openly when the budget was pulled together. Maybe you can add that further, but I don't think there's anything at all untoward relative to the source of the pension contribution or the contribution of those pension amounts of approximately $30 million to the two funds. So we definitely talked about it at the time, and there was a change in presentation.
30 seconds in my mind.
You know, we've got people here, and then I'll get to you, committee member News.
I'd like to hear from staff if they concur with Mr. Livingston's explanation. I would like to say that an allegation or an insinuation that there's a $30 million phantom in our budget is a pretty serious allegation. And to and you just got finished saying the pension is in a great place, and so I think for the benefit of our community, making such a serious accusation or insinuation in public, knowing that there's probably a very reasonable explanation, does our community a disservice. To put that kind of uncertainty and fear and doubt in the community when there's very likely a reasonable explanation is not productive for this committee, not productive for the city. So I would like to hear Hitesh kind of validate what David is saying.
Good evening, Chair, the members of the committee. Yes, you're right. Look in the past. I mean, he talked about the years too. How did we fund the pension payments, right? Everybody got paid, fire pensioner, police pensioner. We gave the money, whatever the required contribution per the actual. Now comes to the talking about the pension budgets, So what we have done is, if you look into the general fund, we have booked, or we have shown $19 million as a revenue. And this is, again, sometimes it might seem confusing, but I have to do it as it required, So we are showing $19 million as a revenue, which is a tax levy. We are showing $29 million as an expense in general fund. So what is the difference? That difference is the fund balance use of general fund money. So it's all there. It's simple, clear, So I don't know. I mean, where is we hiding the money? I mean, I'm speechless. Yeah. I mean, how would you fund those things? And the numbers are there. Did you get the money? Let's look at your bank account for the last year. Did you get what was levied there or not? It's simple as that. Instead of talking, let's look at the bank account. Let's look at the record statement and add up the numbers. Does it add up? So, yes, I agree with the council member that these are the kind of, it's not kind of healthy for a city versus pension for the relationship. We try to do the best, like yesterday, as a part of that contribution, that extra 10 million, we transferred the first installment because we say March, April when we get the first installment. So yesterday we transferred almost $2.5 million to police and fire pension combined, which is the first installment. We'll transfer more in April and then again the second installment, which is in August and September. So yes, I'm surprised. I don't know where to start, but again, the budget is out there. You can look at it. General fund budget will show $19 million revenues, which is the tax levy amount. General fund would show $29 million in expense. The difference of $10 million is the use of fund balance.
Thank you. And Councilman Calver.
Thank you. So just so I understand, I also want to hear from Mr. Schoolmaster, and I appreciate that they're here this evening. So I did notice, like this year in the all fund summary, we don't list police and fire pension. Every year we have, yet it hasn't been in the total amount of our budget. When we budget, I think the issue is not about funding the pensions here. I think the issue is about what we're needing to meet in terms of a balanced budget, that when we add, up until this year, in the all fund summary, in addition to the line item within the general fund for the funding of our part, what the city has to pay, in addition to that, embedded in the general fund as, what is it called? What's that line item called? It's not called pensions, it's called non-departmental is what it's listed as. In addition then, on the all fund summary every year, up until this year it stopped, there was an amount listed for fire and police pension that was usually a little more, it seemed, than what we were funding, which meant we had to balance our budget with that amount. So am I restating that correctly? I think
We really have to move on.
No,
I
but
think
this
this
is
is
very-
very important, but I think we're gonna take this offline.
But wait a
We're
second,
gonna-
I was not complaining about
Right.
the budget. I was complaining that they were using the pension funds to falsely expand the budget. Because I know I could take, numbers have to tie back. The numbers they put in there, they tie
Okay,
back. They tie back dollar for dollar for what the pension funds pay for the pensions, the benefits, and what we pay for our administrators.
Okay, let me just make a suggestion
They were
here.
dragging our expenses.
Okay, we're over the time limit. Let me this was something, I asked for materials ahead of time to review. This was something that just showed up that I need a lot of time to digest it, review it. I'd like to, thank you for bringing it up. If there's a misappropriation of funds, this is our
I think it's
responsibility
about-
and we want to know. Let me finish. I give everyone else time. We need to digest this and talk to Hitesh and Clayton. This is a big packet to go over. We've got a lot of other things on our agenda. The main purpose today was we wanted to see how the pension plan was doing with the full funding, the performance, where we're at. I definitely appreciate you bringing this here because it's something we need to look into, but I don't think we can resolve it in this forum right here. So we will come back next month with a full memo on your questions and get it answered, but we're not gonna solve it today.
And
It just
it
can't
was
happen.
not a question about funding. I want to be very clear about that.
Okay.
It was about misrepresenting our expenses as the city's expenses.
Okay, we will definitely look into this, and we appreciate you bringing it up. It's just, in this forum is not a place to get all the answers.
I think Mr. Schoolmaster.
Okay, Mr. Schoolmaster, and then we're going to move on to our next agenda item.
30 seconds. Timothy Schoolmaster, Police Pension Fund. Our numbers are in the material he's addressed. When the proposed budget came out, I appeared before this committee and I appeared at the council committee because in the budget was a statement that the assets of both the police and fire funds were in the general fund, which is false. Not one dime of the assets of the funds are in the general fund. And maybe that comment got somebody looking because it's disappeared from the 2025. It was in the 24, 22. Okay, and then you have the original documents, but now in the summaries, those items have been scrubbed. They have disappeared. They were there and now they've disappeared. Just another reason why we're going to have to do this forensic audit. And we're happy to talk further with you, but this is, it's gone too far. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to move up the D5, discussion of property tax circuit breaker referral.